In the United States, an average of 16 people die each day while waiting for a transplant. This means that approximately 5,600 people die each year because they did not receive a needed organ transplant. A single organ donor can save up to 8 lives. Additionally, tissue donation from the same donor can improve the lives of up to 75 people. Saving a life is morally good. Improving a life is also morally good. What are we as a society willing to do in order to implement this moral good? The United States is the last Western nation to impose the death penalty. As of January 2025, there are approximately 2,000 death row inmates in the United States. Executions per year have been decreasing. In the year 2000, 85 death row inmates were executed. In 2024, there were 18 executions in the country. Should individuals sentenced to death be required to donate their organs upon execution? Even in 2024, with its low execution rates, that would have been 144 lives that could have been saved, and 1,300 lives improved. All we would need to do is require those sentenced to death to be organ donors. In the eyes of the law, their crimes were terrible enough to make their lives forfeit. Why not their bodies? This is one of the ethical dilemmas we can analyze using a utilitarian framework. Utilitarianism is an ethical framework that judges the morality of an action based on its consequences, aiming to maximize overall well-being and happiness for the greatest number of people. Under this framework, the happiness of 8 people saved and 1,300 lives improved would vastly outweigh the objections of a criminal. So why don't we do it? And if we can see the social good of harvesting organs from criminals put to death, could there be social good from harvesting organs from prisoners who are still living? Between the federal, state, local, and tribal systems, nearly 2 million people are incarcerated in 1,566 state prisons, 98 federal prisons, 3,116 local jails, and 1,277 juvenile correctional facilities. These systems create a cost of at least $182 billion each year. At such a high cost, what is the value of prison? Is it utilitarian, creating more happiness than it does harm? If people fear imprisonment, they may choose not to commit crimes. Effective deterrence prevents future suffering. On the other hand, research indicates that lengthy prison sentences do not significantly deter crime or reduce recidivism rates. Prisons remove dangerous individuals from society, preventing them from harming others while incarcerated. This provides immediate protection to the public, but nearly 3/4, 72.1% of federal prisoners are serving time for non-violent offenses and have no history of violence. If prisons succeed in reforming offenders, they return to society as contributors rather than threats, but many prison systems underfund or neglect reforming offenders. Prison may not be serving a fully utilitarian function, but could the prisoners bring more good into the world by being organ donors than simply serving time? Approximately 85% of individuals on the organ transplant waiting list require a kidney. These donations can be given by living persons, in return for a reduced sentence. The utilitarian argument would be that each organ donation may result in multiple life years gained, which in aggregate creates a large net increase in well-being. This would bring balance to the harm the prisoners caused by their crimes, reducing their need for imprisonment. Allowing prisoners to voluntarily choose to donate organs respects their agency, which may enhance their sense of dignity and purpose. A prisoner who chooses to do good, perhaps out of altruism or to atone, may gain psychological benefits, while society benefits from the donation. In terms of financial cost to society, organ donation can reduce healthcare system burdens by eliminating costly end-stage treatments like dialysis. At the same time, reducing prison sentences lowers the financial cost of incarceration. Then again, allowing sentence reductions for those with valuable organs might create discriminatory systems, reducing fairness and social harmony. It would privilege the healthy over the sick, the young over the old, and could even mirror existing inequalities by favoring certain racial and socio-economic groups who statistically have fewer underlying health conditions. Such a system risks reinforcing the very injustices the prison system already struggles with, turning bodily worth into yet another metric by which human beings are unequally judged. Even if framed as voluntary, prison is inherently coercive. Prisoners may agree to donate because they're desperate to shorten their sentences, they fear repercussions if they refuse, or they don't fully understand the medical risks. True consent requires not just absence of overt force, but also freedom from desperation. This policy also risks framing prisoners as commodities, bodies that can be traded for freedom. This could reinforce harmful societal views of incarcerated people as lesser or disposable, which could result in increased social stigma or systemic abuse, in which case the net suffering may outweigh the immediate benefit of organ transplants. Incarcerated populations are disproportionately poor, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. They have already faced higher rates of coerced medical procedures historically. Examples such as the Tuskegee syphilis study in the United States show us how easily the pursuit of knowledge for public health can dehumanize those deemed expendable. Continuation of such injustices could have far-reaching societal harm. If we genuinely seek to balance harm and good within the prison system, there are ways for incarcerated individuals to contribute to society that preserve their dignity. Educational programs, restorative justice initiatives, and opportunities for meaningful community service allow prisoners to atone for past actions and improve lives without commodifying their bodies. These pathways offer utilitarian benefits such as lower recidivism, stronger communities, rehabilitated citizens, without crossing the ethical lines that organ harvesting threatens. So, utilitarianism would tell us that the harms of harvesting organs from living prisoners would outweigh the benefits. The question remains whether taking organs from those already condemned to die would cross the same moral lines. Would it be a greater societal harm or social good? Yet even as we weigh potential benefits against harms, a deeper question emerges. Can we trust an ethical system that permits suffering for the sake of the greater good? The problem of using utilitarianism as a moral compass was wonderfully demonstrated in the short story by Ursula K. Le Guin, The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. The story describes a seemingly perfect utopian city named Omelas. The people of Omelas live in joy, harmony, and prosperity. There is no war, no poverty, and no needless suffering. However, their collective happiness hinges on a single horrific condition. One child must be kept in perpetual misery, locked away in filth, fear, and isolation. The child must suffer so that everyone else can thrive. If the child were ever rescued or comforted, the paradise of Omelas would collapse. Omelas embodies utilitarianism to its extreme. One innocent child suffers so thousands may live joyfully. This begs the question, should we be viewing organ donation from a utilitarian lens at all? Prisoners are not innocent children. They have been found guilty of crimes against other people. Does this make them more worthy of suffering? Does the death of a prisoner mean that their bodies are no longer their own? In 2007, a science museum exhibit stirred controversy when it suggested that the Bodies Revealed exhibit may have included remains of executed Chinese prisoners. There are 68 crimes that lead to the death penalty in China, such as drug dealing and robbery. As a result, without legal defense and without the knowledge of their families, young men from the countryside are sentenced to death, thereby allowing their bodies to become merchandise of the prison. The utilitarian good of the exhibit was providing an education to the masses about health and wellness. The men were already dead when their bodies were sold. Utilitarianism would tell us that no social harm was caused by the displaying of the bodies from those who did not consent to have their bodies shown. But this does not account for the dignity of these men. The question is not only whether harvesting organs from prisoners would do more harm than good, it's whether we are willing to live in a society that justifies its moral choices by turning human beings into means to an end. And if we are, then we must also ask, at what point does our pursuit of the greater good begin to cost us our humanity?